everyone. I wanted to talk about breakups as it relates to friendships today. A lot of the time, we think that breakups are only for romantic relationships. And we think that if we have been friends with a person for a while, then that friendship is supposed to continue for the rest of eternity. We never think that friendships are also relationships, and if they're not serving us, we can actually let them go. We don't need to hold on to them. We don't need to try to make things work all the time. For some of you, it might seem like common sense, but honestly, for me, it this was like a revelation. It was like, whoa, I can actually break up with a friend, especially if that person is not serving my growth any longer. I found this to be particularly true with a long term friendship, which I let go of very recently. I met this person in 2012 when I was doing my MBA, and she and I connected deeply at that point. But the person I was then was super different from the person I am now. And I found that as years passed by, she and I just grew extremely differently. A lot of the time, it happens that when two people have very divergent values, they sort of drift apart, and there's a natural breakup of sorts that happens. But in this case, I found that she would very consciously try to keep the connection alive. And time and again, I'd feel super guilty for not putting in as much effort. I'd feel extremely uncomfortable interacting with her. I'd resent her for the sort of behavior she'd exhibit towards me because I was no longer the person I was all those years ago, right? And finally, I came to the realization this year that I had to let this friendship go consciously. It took me a lot of courage, and it also took me a lot of internal processing, because I felt that if I wanted to break up with somebody, then it somehow meant that I was being ungrateful to the other person. I wasn't recognizing that the person had been really kind to me and had been a very good friend at some point. But when I really thought about it, that wasn't the case at all. I could acknowledge that the friendship was very dear to me at some point, and I could acknowledge that the person was wonderful and she had done a lot for me, and that we had actually shared a genuine, lovely connection. But I could also recognize that in this moment, the friendship could no longer continue for a variety of reasons. So once I recognized that I could sort of hold both those thoughts in my mind at the same time, I felt free to go ahead and break up with her. And I did that over an email. I shared my rationale behind why I wanted to do so. And I told her that I was letting this relationship go with love. I guess I realized that, sometimes you grow and the other person also grows, but the relationship itself is sort of stuck in the past and has not sort of grown at all. And you feel the need to let that relationship go, to release that energy. And that's exactly what happened in this case. As soon as I let the friendship go, I found that the blocked energy was sort of released. And somehow it was my way of saying goodbye to the person I had been all those years ago, that I was somehow clinging on to on some level. And it the energy release felt like relief. It felt like a fog being cleared from my mind. It felt uplifting, and I actually felt really good about the entire thing. So I'd encourage you to like look at um, even friendships as relationships that you are choosing to say yes to, and that if for some reason you feel like a particular friendship is not serving you anymore, to let it go with love. You don't have to do it with hatred, you don't have to do it with guilt, you don't have to do it with any sort of negative energy. You can actually say that this was a lovely connection we had. It might have had a lot of negatives, but it also had a lot of positives. But in this moment, the person I am today requires that I let this friendship go. So yeah, try that out if that makes sense to you. I'd love to hear if you have examples of friendships that you have let go because you recognize the need to do this. So that's it for today, and I'll see you in another video.